Welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust is the best way for you to exit your highly appreciated real estate business or other asset. I'm your host, Brett Swarts. Each episode, I'm joined by some of the best real estate, financial, wealth, and business minds in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. We're also streaming live on Expert CRE Secrets right now as well. You can find that on YouTube and also on iTunes. I'm excited about our next guest. Just a few years ago, he was a window cleaner. You can even find his window cleaning tutorial videos on YouTube with millions of views. Although he achieved success with his window cleaning business, he always dreamt of being a real estate investor. Taking a leap of faith, he walked away from window cleaning, and within a handful of years, he was making over $1 million per year from real estate investing. He and his team now spend much of the time giving back as much as they can to help others get started in the competitive game of real estate. Please welcome to the show with me from Utah, Zack Boothe. Zack, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me, Brett. It's a pleasure.
Excited to have you and to dive into some of this wisdom and these secrets that you figured out. By the way, Zack's got this really cool thing going on, 40K in 40 days. He flew to Tampa, folks, and he's looking at ways to help you build real estate, but he's doing it in a brand new market. We're going to talk about that. It's a little plug for that. But in the meantime, Zack, let's start out, first of all, getting to know you a little bit more. Would you tell us a little bit about your story and your current focus?
Yeah. So like you said in the intro, I was a window washer. I started that actually when I was 17, ran that for nearly a decade. It was an awesome experience, and I learned a lot about business. I made a lot of mistakes. I had bought a duplex though, clear back in about 2011, and living in one half, renting the other half. And I was like, man, I need more of this. Like, this is amazing. Just the one tenant was paying the mortgage and then some. And it's like, man, I need more rentals. I need to do more of this. And the problem is that I had at that point, the obstacles I found was, my debt to income ratio was somewhat of a problem because I was trying to write off as much as I could in my business, right? And then the other issue was down payments. They wanted 25, 30% down for a second investment property. And so I started like strategizing, like, okay, we'll buy this one, we'll fix it up, we'll refinance the money out, and we'll move into another one. And I did that a couple times, but it was hard on my wife, and like I was really struggling to have success. Then I tried flipping a house, and that was a nightmare. I hate flipping. I hate dealing with contractors. I lost money. I was there Christmas Eve morning working on it. I mean, it was a nightmare. I hated flipping houses. I hated the business model. I was so nervous of like, okay, I have to have the equity of this house stay the same or go up. I can't open up a wall and have a can of worms. Like, there was just so many variables that would make it so it was unsuccessful. And so I wanted to get into it, but I didn't necessarily know how, other than, borrowing money from people. And I started looking at doing multifamily syndications and different ways that I could get into it. And then I learned about something called real estate wholesaling, where you specialize in finding off-market discounted properties. So you find a seller that wants speed and convenience. The property is a thorn in their side, and you negotiate directly with that seller. So you could, get the properties under contract and assign that contract to a different investor and get an assignment fee. And, that's what I do. I do a lot of those, and I consistently make well over $20,000 a deal, and there's zero risk. It's very fast. But my favorite part of real estate wholesaling is I basically created a business that consistently provides investment opportunities for investors. So I have this machine that's producing investment opportunities. So all I have to do is go, I don't want that one. I don't want that one. Oh, that's an amazing deal. That's a seller finance deal. That's an amazing rental that cash flows. Like, that's exactly what I want for my own portfolio. And I keep it. Right. And so I've been able to create wealth, long-term wealth, short-term wealth, cash flow and have a team that does all of the negotiations. The acquisition manager in the office next to me is negotiated close to $2 million in assignment fees in just a few years with me. And so
Amazing.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah, we're going to dive into all of those secrets, but I believe we've all been given certain unique gifts in this life, Zach. Some people call them superpowers, some people call them strengths. I believe they're God-given gifts, and these gifts have been given to us to be a blessing and a help to others. So I'm curious, maybe what are those one or two gifts that you believe you were given, and how do those help how you help people today?
Yeah. So I actually was just reading the book called Rocket Fuel, and it talks about the personality type of a visionary. And as I was reading it, I was like, oh, that's my problem. That's what's wrong with me. And ever since I was a young man, I've had this fire and determination and competitiveness in wanting to succeed. And it's allowed me to think critically and look long-term towards what I want, and been able to structure my life to what I want. I didn't fall into the trap of living your life, living paycheck to paycheck. I remember as a young man, I'd come home from school, or my dad would come home from work a little later, and I'd say, "Dad, how was work?" And he'd say, "Son, they don't pay you because you enjoy your job." And I remember that kind of stuck with me. And I remember thinking at a very young age, very young, under 10, I remember thinking, I will enjoy my job. I will enjoy working. I don't want to live if I don't enjoy day to day. And I've been able to structure a life that's full of exactly what I want to do. I do what I want to do every single day.
That is beautiful. By the way, you can learn more about Zack Boothe at dfdmastery.com. That's D as in David, F, D as in David, mastery.com. So Zach, let's dive right into mastering the art and science of real estate wholesaling and kind of moving your business or growing your business to the next level with real estate investing. So you defined wholesaling as an opportunity to directly contact sellers or deal with sellers,
Mm-hmm.
and then try to make a deal. Folks that are looking to perhaps sell quickly, don't want to list it, don't want to go through the pain of all of that can be, and then you assign the contract to somebody, and then they take the deal and they close the deal. Is that a fair summary?
Fair summary, 100%.
Excellent. So what's the number one secret to contacting sellers directly and saying, hey, don't use a broker, don't get multiple offers, don't drive up the price? What's that number one secret to overcoming that objection?
Yeah, so the first and number one thing is you don't convince someone of that. The goal is to find the person that wants that. So you might be saying, oh, in this market, that doesn't exist. Though that cannot happen, right? People don't sell their house for 50 cents on the dollar. You may be a complete skeptic that that's even possible. I used to be. I completely understand where you're coming from. That's why I did the 40-day challenge, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But what happened in my life is I was washing windows, and I had heard about wholesaling. I had even paid for a coach, and it didn't work out very good. It was a lot of information, a lot of overwhelm. Don't want to get too far into that, but I was a skeptic at some point too, that you could find off-market discounted properties. And I was washing windows for a very, very wealthy real estate developer. He was a civil engineer as a young man and retired in his early 30s or late 20s. I can't remember at this point. But he was very successful. He had a couple multi-million-dollar development projects. And I was washing windows in his giant mansion, beautiful home, just the nicest, most gentle human being too. And I got talking to him, and I was so interested because I wanted to get into real estate. And I was asking him how he did it, what advice he had for me and what he had going on. And at the end of the conversation, I was like, man, if I could just pick up 2 rentals this year, I would be so excited. And he said, oh, that's very convenient. I've got these 2 properties I don't want to deal with. I haven't been over there in a couple years. I'm sure they have deferred maintenance. The property manager bailed on me 4 months ago. I haven't collected rents. That needs to be dealt with. I just don't want to deal with them. I don't have time to deal with them. I don't really even care. Do you want them? I said, sure. And I said, how much? He said, $500,000, which was a fat discount, by the way. Like, they're probably worth $750,000. And so he's going to give them to me seller finance. He only wanted a couple $1,000s down because that's all I had to give him. So, I got these properties, very low interest rate. After renting them out, I was making about $850 a month extra. and that's paying a property management company. It was just an incredible deal. And I ended up selling those properties a couple of years later to the tenants and making well over $100,000 profit on those deals. And so when I found that seller, I realized that you have to find someone that doesn't want to deal with the properties. I didn't convince him. I didn't have the skill set to convince him. I didn't have the experience to convince him, right? He had more experience, more money, more resources. He worked with me because he liked me and because it was convenient for him.
Yeah, going from washing windows, you must wash a heck of a window, man. You must to building a good relationship, right? And at the same time, you're solving his problem, right? At the heart of it, he was ready to be done, right? And so you built up some trust, some rapport, and then made a deal. And is that a fair summary?
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. So so in other words, you almost like attract. You don't necessarily go get. In the sense of you're going to find somebody who's already motivated, okay, and who has a need, and perhaps that's with direct marketing, perhaps that's with cold calling, perhaps that's with networking. What's the next best step to getting started today in wholesaling?
Yeah. So my company, my coaching business, right, is DFD Mastery. It stands for Driving for Dollars Mastery. So when I first heard about this and I had that first success, I got another coach and I started reaching out to people that had like deferred taxes or late on their mortgage payments, or had code violations on their property or had an eviction they were dealing with. Basically, I was trying to find people that had, the property is a thorn in their side. And that's usually like tired landlords, people that have, deferred maintenance, people that just don't want to work with a real estate agent, right? And my battery's about to die. I apologize. I didn't plug this in. Just give me 2 seconds here.
That's okay. He's going to take 2 seconds there to change his headset. But in the meantime, we are talking with Zack Boothe, talking about growing your business and moving to the next level of real estate. You can find him at dfdmastery.com. That's dfdmastery.com. And then we're going to dive into this 40K and 40-day challenge, which is going to be really cool as well, about how Zack went to Tampa, jumped on a plane, and he spent 40 days there trying to make some big profits. So, Zack, where were you? Go ahead.
I apologize for that. That when I first got into doing this, I was getting a few deals here and there, but I was really struggling to find consistency because my marketing channel, the list of people that I was reaching out to, that's what everyone's doing. And so I started, realizing like, okay, when someone wants to get rid of a property for speed and convenience, there's always deferred maintenance because they don't want to mow the lawn. The property's a thorn in their side. They don't want to fix the windows, and they put sheets up instead of curtains. And there's obvious signs of neglect. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to only market to properties that have deferred maintenance. So I started driving around, writing down the addresses, looking them up on county records, and that's who I was reaching out to. And when I finally started doing that and started really pushing it, I went from about $115,000 in assignment fees to just shy of $500,000 the next year. I mean, I 5X'd my business, and it was a game changer. And so that is like the main strategy. That's how I find people, is I proactively go out and find those rundown houses or houses with deferred maintenance, and then I cold call them, text them, and postcard them.
Got it. So yeah, you're just driving down the street, you see something a little beat up, or you're looking at a tax roll, or you're looking at something that has distress or some challenges. And before this, let's say this deal goes to fruition, you're going to contact the seller as early as possible. Is that a fair summary?
Fair. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it sounds so simple. It shouldn't work, right? It works amazing though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sometimes it's the the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? And sometimes if someone has a pain and you're there to solve that pain today and can close on it tomorrow or the next week or sooner rather than later, that's value. And the value is closing that without the hassle. So makes sense, right? So cool. All right. So then you went from doing very well to now coaching others who do well. And then let's dive right into the 40Ks and 40 days, because this is pretty cool because you have a lot of skeptics, right? Even in my business, Deferred Sales Trust, every single day, people, it's too good to be true. Never heard of it. My CPA would have told me about it if everyone would be doing it if it was that good. And then we just keep closing, multi-million-dollar deals and helping people defer, hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars of tax, saving 1031 exchanges. Even just yesterday, we got another group saying, "Oh, how do you can't do that in California." You're like, well, you have to follow some guidelines and there's some withholding things, but yeah, we can actually save a failed 1031 exchange with the Deferred Sales Trust. But you went from doing it yourself to coaching to helping others, and now you're doing this 40-day challenge to help with overcoming false beliefs. So start with first, why the 40-day challenge? What was it? What was the premise? And then tell us about how it's going so far.
Yeah, so like you said, I started coaching, and I started coaching right after I did that $500,000. And I've had a ton of success with my students from the very beginning. They're having a lot of success, but I started noticing that like one of the reasons that some of my students wouldn't succeed is they were kind of skeptics when they joined, and since they were kind of skeptics, they didn't give that 100% effort. They didn't follow through all the way, and because they didn't follow through all the way, they didn't have the kind of success that others were having, and so they gave up. They lost the little bit of confidence that they had. And I'm like, how do I get people to believe? How do I make my students more successful? How do I give them that confidence, that belief, and that fire that they can do it? And so they give that massive action. They have massive results, and it breeds even more confidence and excitement for the business, and that they can have financial freedom and the success that I have. And so it was 100% about like helping people. And I was like, okay, well, I used to be a skeptic. What changed in my life? Well, I told you, right? I found that very wealthy developer that gave me those properties at a massive discount, and he knew it, when I was washing his windows. I was like, okay, how do I let someone else have that experience? How do I let someone look over my shoulder and see those experiences in real life and see how it's done? And I'm like, okay, well, why don't I just show it? Why don't I just do it? And so I did this 40-day challenge to allow people to get an over-the-shoulder look of exactly what it takes and what I'm doing to be able to do this business and to be able to work with these sellers and how I'm negotiating. And then I'm actually serving and helping people, and what a conversation sounds like when I call someone out of the blue and they say they want to work with an investor and not an agent. And is that even possible in this market? And I within a couple of weeks, I had 5 contracts, and I now have a total of 7 contracts from that challenge, and with like $250,000 in projected income. It's absolutely insane.
Incredible. So tell me about the first one, right? So like you're flying to Tampa, right? It's like you parachuted in there, right? And you got the wholesaling cape on. And what's the first thing you do to get that first spark of fire to get this thing going?
Well, there was definitely some stress. It's like, oh crap, it's real. Because there was a couple of years of planning, right? Like I did not know if I would succeed, and I had been promoting this and telling people about this before I ever even got there. And I was going to present and promote this whether I was successful or not, right? So there was this a massive amount of pressure, but I had my plan and I had my structure. So I was having to do a couple things at the same time. I had to have a cash buyers list. So once I found a deal, I had someone to sell the deal to, right? So during the time of like starting the marketing, I was also networking with other investors and trying to get cash buyers. And I started working with some of the local wholesalers and started trading investor lists. Within a couple of weeks, I had 11,000 cash buyers. So that was one of the first things on my agenda. Another thing that was on my agenda was a title company. I had to have a title company that understood the process of assigning a contract and paying me my assignment fee, right? So I had to do that. The one thing that I had done before I landed was my purchase contract, and my attorney wanted to make sure legally I was good, right? So that was one thing that you would have to do if you're starting. The next thing that I started, which really started on day one, was the marketing. I got to find a seller, right? And it's going to take some time to find a seller, because think about it. I have 40 days to do 40 grand. So I have to go and start my marketing, but I have to find the seller. I have to meet with the seller. I have to sign the contracts, find the buyer. I mean, it's 40 days, right? I mean, I had to hustle. And so I started immediately doing my marketing. So I downloaded the Deal Machine app, which is the app that I use for driving for dollars. I have no association. I don't own it or anything. It's the app that I use in my company. It's a Deal Machine. You can get it on the App Store. I can get you a discount if you use my discount code PIN, PIN. But that app allows me to add 30 to 150 properties every single hour I'm driving around. So as I'm driving around, there's like a Google Street image on the app, and I'm just tagging these houses. I'm just pushing the button, touching the house on the Google Maps image, and it's uploading all their information on an Excel spreadsheet for me. Who owns it, mailing address, property address, and just fast, right? So in the first couple of days, I had thousands of people on my list, and then immediately start cold calling them. So by day four, like I said, I had multiple appointments and leads, and I got my first appointment where I got a contract. I got 3 contracts from the first seller by day 4 doing that.
Okay, so you ready? We're gonna role play. You want to role play with me?
Let's do it.
Okay, so I am the Tampa random house that you flew
Okay.
in, and you put in. It's day 3. So ring me.
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello. I am. Yes. Who's this?
Yeah, this is Zach. I know it's a little out of the blue, and I may even have the wrong number. Do you own the property at XYZ?
I do. Yes, that's my property. I'm here right now, looking at the beautiful bay. It's Tampa Bay. It's just gorgeous out here today.
Yeah, I'm definitely not driving along the bay, but but yeah, okay, well, fantastic. I know, like I said, it's a little out of the blue. I was just wondering if you've thought of selling or if you'd consider an offer on your property.
I've sort of, kind of. This marketplace is just red hot, and like everyone's moving here from New York, and I'm just getting these calls. Everyone wants to list my property. So yeah, I thought about it if the price is right.
Gotcha. Yeah. So and maybe I'm actually not the best fit. So I am actually a local investor. So I'm trying to buy something that I could add some value, maybe fix up and potentially make a profit. You might be better off if you did the rehab and fix it up and list it with an agent and went through that hassle, but I could buy it as is if that's something that interests you, or would you rather just fix it up and sell it with an agent?
That's the fix up, sell it thing is just kind of daunting to me. I really don't want to fix it up and sell it myself. But what did you have in mind?
Well, it depends largely on the condition. So can you tell me, I'm seeing here online, just a little side note, when I'm using my dialer, I can pull up the Zillow thing. I have all the information right there already. Okay. Well, I'm seeing online here that it's got 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Uh-huh.
Okay, awesome. And then is the bathrooms been updated in the last 5 years? What kind of condition are they in?
They're an average, no upgrades, just
No
average
upgrades.
condition, but good, I'd say good condition.
Okay, and then the kitchen. Have you updated the kitchen by chance?
No upgrades there.
Gotcha. Well, what are some of the maintenance issues? Do you know of anything that needs to be fixed to get it
got a
nice?
leak in the roof. My AC, I feel like she's been going for about 12 years, and maybe she has a year left on her, but she's still doing pretty good. And here and there, the house itself, the windows are kind of old. I feel like I can get some new dual pane windows.
Okay, gotcha. So it sounds like it's not the terrible condition. Sounds decent. Is there a time frame that you would like to have it sold by?
I guess if the price is right, I could sell.
Okay.
So I haven't had it set a time, but I guess if the deal made sense, yeah, I'd be open to that.
Okay. So when you say if the price is right, do you have a price in mind that's right?
I'd go on Zillow, that Zillow thing, and they always give me the Z estimate, and I go, oh, that looks pretty good, So I don't know, 200 to 225,000.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I may be able to get somewhat close to that. I would definitely need to do a little bit more research. I've only really driven by the house. It's pretty much the only research in what I'm seeing here on Zillow. But I may actually be less than the Zillow estimate because, like I said, I do need to be able to make a profit on the deal. If my offer was under the Zillow estimate, would you at least like to meet with me and talk to me about what I could offer?
I'd be open to that. I guess compared to like hiring a broker, right? Those guys are so expensive. They want like 6%, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And ultimately, like I said, that might be your best fit. So why don't we set up an appointment? I'll come meet with you, take a look at the house and kind of give you a price range of what I think I could offer. And maybe that's something you want to do. Maybe it's not. So
sure.
You said if the price is right, do you have like a place lined up? Like, why have you even thought of selling in the first place?
I like to get closer to the grandkids. They're living in Orlando now. I'm in Tampa, and I want to go to Disneyland with them and spend some time with Disney World. That is. So yeah, that's it. Just relocate to the grandkids.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, all right. And then we'll set schedule, yada, yada.
Cool. All right. That was fun. All right. That was a little role play for you guys. We don't do that too often here on Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, but we wanted to show and also test a little with Zach. That was awesome, Zach. So yeah, you simply just pretty direct, right? And you're pretty straightforward, and you're just saying, look, this is what I'm in the business of doing, and I'm just curious if you'd be open to it. If there's any, and trying to dig for some real motivation, try to get some general facts of the property itself,
Yeah.
and then just closing for an opportunity to meet. Is that a fair summary?
100%. And you'll see on the challenge, like some of the people I go and meet with, like his name was Juan. He's a truck driver and he was going to retire. And I didn't get a lot of details on the condition and stuff because he was in a hurry, but he wanted to meet with me. He's like, 100%, I'm going to sell my house. So I went and met with him. I took him some Coronas, built a relationship with him. And it was late on the weekend when he was home. He wasn't home very much. And ultimately, he's like, I was talking to him. The house is in perfect condition. He's like, never there. And I'm like, why don't you just list it? You're going to get way more. And that's what we ultimately ended up doing. And I referred the listing over to my agent. Like, it's not a deal for me. You don't convince someone to sell it to an investor. That's a number one mistake you make. If you do that, you're going to get burnt out. You're going to sign contracts where people get pissed off and try and sue you or cancel the contracts. Like, you got to go at this business where you're actually serving people and helping people. My neighbor across the street's a perfect example. She came to me wanting to sell the house, going through divorce, and I talked to her about her potential options. She ended up, I referred her to my mortgage broker. She ended up refinancing, cashing out her ex-husband, and was able to keep the house, and we're best friends. But it's what was best for her. And instead of selling me the house. So
I think that's so important, right? And so, by the way, I'm a commercial real estate broker myself too. Started at Marcus Millichap, sell multifamily properties here in Sacramento, now with EXP Commercial. So we found the best way to go and really assess motivation, but also to try to really put yourself in their shoes, and or it's your family member. Like if it's your parents that are selling the property, you almost want to talk people out of selling the deal, right? Like I have a client, for example, and he's got I don't know, it's about a $5 million property. And I'm like, he owns it free and clear. It's in like the best school district. There's no vacancy. And he managed himself. And I'm like, hey, just hire a manager. Like, you don't need to sell this thing or you just refinance if you want to go buy another property. Like, we don't have to sell and 1031 and be faced with this, or even go to the Deferred Sales Trust if you don't want to do that. So in other words, my goal a lot of times is just to talk them out of it, right? And when you do that or help them do that, you're not trying to sell somebody. You're just trying to explore the options. And as you're asking questions in that way, and let me know what you think, Zach, they actually start to uncover things that they go, well, actually, here's why I think you might be a good fit. And here's why that doesn't, this is why I want to sell. That doesn't work. So is that a fair summary or any thoughts on that?
100%. I mean, because when you give them because they know their options, people are stupid, right? They know the majority of their options. So a lot of times when investors are new or people are doing this, they're like, oh my, I might lose out on a deal if I talk about these other options. I don't want them to take these other options. But it's like, if that's in their best interest, that's what they're going to do anyways. But what it does is it helps build trust. Mm-hmm. When they trust you, they'll work with you. And it's funny when you said like you want to talk to them like it's your family member and how you would negotiate with your family member. I love that you said that, because I say that all the time. I'm a big advocate of that. I remember one day my cousin called me and about his house and wanted me to buy the house. And I had these warm fuzzies because I had the exact same negotiation strategy with him as anyone else. Mm-hmm. Exactly, right? I'm like, why don't you just list it, dude? You're going to probably make more money. I buy houses at a discount, right? Yeah, I know that, Zach. I see what you do online all the time. Yeah. Okay, well, fantastic. Well, how much are you trying to make? Well, bro, I got to move because I got a new job. Just buy it for what I owe on it. Could you do that? Sure, man. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Awesome. Love that, Zach. By the way, you can find more about Zack Boothe at dfdmastery.com. And you can go to YouTube right now and look up Zack Boothe's name and the 40K and 40-day challenge, his real life proof of parachuting into Tampa Bay, Florida. And they $250,000 now, Zach? What are you up to now with the profits?
Man, we've still got some deals closing because I just most recently got here, and I actually had family emergencies, and I ended up in Brazil with father-in-law in the hospital and some major issues. So we're close. I think we've closed out on a couple of the deals. I think we've closed out on about 140,000 ish. But we've still got, I think, 3 more deals to close here, 4 more deals to close.
Absolutely love it. And so, Zach, we're running out of time. So there's going to be one question, then we're going to the lightning round. And this is the question centered around part of what we talk about here at Capital Gains Tax Solutions and also Expert CRE Secrets podcast. And this is the question: what's the biggest frustration when it comes to capital gains tax deferral for you, friends, family, clients, or partners?
The biggest issue with tax deferrals?
Yeah, what's your biggest frustration with the capital gains tax deferral? You could be talking about the 1031 exchange. You could be talking about short term versus long term. It could be talking about anything that's just like, hey, that's kind of a pain. Like my, what's the biggest frustration that comes to mind when it comes to capital gains tax deferral options?
I hate that you have to pay taxes. No, I'm just kidding. I've done a couple 1031 tax exchanges. My biggest issue is, and one of the reasons I don't do a ton of them, and the frustration is the time frame and then the structure of putting them together. I think having someone to help you through that process would make it a lot easier to do it. But yeah, the time frame, the time crunches is one of the hardest parts of it. If you're not careful, you'll end up buying something just to not pay taxes, which will end up costing you more than just paying the taxes, right? So those time frames are kind of a pain.
Yeah, we call that the shotgun wedding, right? Where you're getting engaged in 45 days. Do you have any of those friends from college who got like engaged really fast and then they got married really fast? You're like, whoa, slow down. Like that could be okay, right? And it could be happily ever after. But sometimes if you do these rush decisions and you get engaged in 45 days and you get married in 180, you close, and you even worse right now. And I'm always very cautious with my clients to say, don't overpay, right? Selling such a high market, don't overpay and double down with more debt 180 days later, right? Sell high and buy higher. Our parents taught us to sell high and buy low, right?
Yep.
So making sure that you have a solution and an alternative, you're looking at all your options. This is what we're here at Capital Gains Tax Solutions to help you do. You can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com, check out the Deferred Sales Trust, and learn why it's like the Netflix to capital gains tax deferral and exiting highly appreciated assets versus the old Blockbuster way of doing things like the 1031 exchange. That being said, Zach, are you ready for the lightning round?
I'm ready.
All right. So knowing what you know now, if you could go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget that you would make sure you would tell yourself to do?
Read. I would read. I didn't start reading until my late 20s, and my life has changed so much.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. What's the one book that you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
Probably the most impactful book that I've read as far as self-improvement in my life is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The number one habit that really, really has changed what I do with my day, what I focus on, what my tasks are, is starting with the end in mind. And Stephen Covey really does a good job of explaining that, and what I do with my day, where my business is going, the whole strategy and mission of my coaching business, and setting up my wholesaling business passively to have my focus on giving back and coaching and helping other people become successful 100% is because of that book.
Love it. Great answer. Question number 3, best real estate deal ever.
Oh man, I've had some good ones. I've had a handful of 6-figure deals, and those are always fun. They move the needle fast. I'm going to say my most favorite deal. I'm going to say my most favorite deal is the first deal I did, the duplex, because it gave me this hope and understanding of the power and potential of holding an asset, of holding a cash flowing asset, something that you control, that has multiple strategies of revenue. You can refinance money out, you can sell it, you can rent it out. I mean, it grows in value with time. I mean, it's just that first one, because it gave me this understanding of the potential. I'm going to say the first.
Beautiful. Worst real estate deal you ever did?
Oh, the house I flipped. Remember I said I started asking all my wealthy window cleaning clients for money to flip a house after I was trying to get into the investing space after that first duplex, and talked to this guy named Steve Young, wonderful gentleman, love the guy, and his son Dave. They're good people, and I'm still friends with them today. No, not the Steve Young quarterback. That would have been cool, right? No, different Steve. Anyways, they gave me some money to flip a house, and after paying them for the money and the stuff, it was a lot of work, and I ended up losing money. But it was also a great deal because it taught me what I don't want to do, which is manage construction sites. So, but it was painful.
Perfect. Number one biggest obstacle your company is currently facing?
The wholesaling business, or the probably the number one struggle that I'm having with my wholesaling business right now is is helping my acquisition managers understand the potential of the long-term wealth created by doing more seller finance structure negotiations. And so learning how to it's not even that, it's just being more invested into the success of my employees and my staff, and teaching them about long-term wealth, so they're structuring things and cherry picking some of the deals, because that's what I want my team to do, is cherry pick and build wealth just as I do out of the company. I want my investment company to make my team and my inner circle very wealthy. So like teaching them to do that, so we can really take things to the next level with time. And there, a lot of times we're settling with big assignment fees instead of holding and negotiating seller finance. So
Yeah, very well said. And by the way, that's exactly what the deferred sales trust is, just an installment sale, which is seller finance, allows the seller to defer capital gains tax, right? And then you get time on your side, and then they can get cash flow, right? And they can get and they can go into other deals and get new depreciation schedules. And then what's cool is then all of a sudden you can negotiate a better deal. So what we found is you're not, and correct me if I'm wrong, as a real estate professional, even a deferred sales trust expert, I'm not in the business of selling the DST or selling real estate. I'm in the business of solving problems for my clients, right? And so as a wholesaler, perhaps when you're going in, you're in the business of solving their problems. So what is the tool that's going to best help solve their problem? And if you can give somebody a long-term, this deferred sales trust, you can go for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. You can pass it to your kids. They can keep it going too. You can perhaps get a better deal. So all that being said, that's kind of like DST 2.0. Last question is this. After all your success, helping everybody that you've helped and doing the deals you're doing, how do you stay centered in your values, Zack? And how do you stay encouraged to charge forward to reach new goals?
yeah, one of my core values is I'll never do any type of partnership, sign up anyone, do a deal unless I'm 100% confident that it's a win-win, especially in the long term, right? And doing that, it's a lot harder, I think, when you don't have money, and you're trying to like force a deal that's not really there. But by doing that, I've kept my relationships alive. I've built trust. I've helped people. I have people all the time that apply for my coaching program, and they have sticky situations, and I'll get on the phone with them after they've talked to an onboarding coach, and I give them a different option, because it's not in their best interest. And so, I think that's been one of the big game changers for sure.
Amazing. Zack, for our listeners who want to get in touch with you, can you remind them one last time of where they can find you?
Yeah, go to my website, dfdmastery.com, stands for driving for dollars, right? dfdmastery.com. In that website, you can actually apply or book a call to speak with us about our coaching program. It's in there, but also there's a link for our social media. If you want to follow me anywhere, you can do that there.
Amazing. dfdmastery.com. Zack Boothe. Zack, I want to thank you for being on the show, sharing a bit about your story, giving us tons of wisdom, being a great sport with the role play there. And I want to encourage you to keep using your gifts and talents of working hard, or persevering, of really proactively taking the side of each client or each person who's selling, right? To be able to make a difference in their life as you're doing wholesaling and business and coaching and everything else. So thank you so much for being on the show. And I want to thank our listeners for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. As always, we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust, or getting with someone like Zack Boothe and getting your wholesale business on is the best way to grow your wealth. We're also streaming on expertcrsecrets.com. Don't forget about that. And go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com if we can help you at all with the Deferred Sales Trust. Thanks so much for listening to the episode. We appreciate you. Bye.